Hello everyone, welcome back. Have a pleasant day. In my last video, I started chapter 3. In that, you have learned variable scope, LEGB rule, that is a local scope, global scope, enclosed scope, and built-in scope. Today, I'm going to explain about module. A module is a part of a program. Programs are composed of one or more independently developed modules. A single module can contain one or several statements closely related to each other. Modules work perfectly on individual level and can be integrated with other modules. Right? I'm going to explain this with one example. See this example. Assume this is a project, right? Road Transport Corporation. Okay, they have developed a project, right? Assume. And see, this project is divided into 3 modules, right? It has been given to 3 different programmers. Assume like that. And this programmer write program to accept bus number, bus name, departure, and destination, right? This is first module. So this programmer will concentrate only on this, right? And this is second module. This programmer will accept time, whether it will display the bus flies daily, weekly, or monthly, right? And this person will concentrate only on number of passengers, date of the journey, and how many seats and amount. Understood? So now all the 3 modules should be integrated together to get the ticket. Right? That's why you see modules work perfectly on individual level and can be integrated with other modules. It can be integrated with other modules. Right? As you know, the software program can be divided into modules to ease the job of programming and debugging as well. Debugging means correcting the error. Suppose, for example, if any error occurs in this module, the programmer will concentrate on this module alone. No need to bother about these 2 modules. Understood? Each and every module will be compiled separately. So to run this module, you don't require these 2 modules. Understood? Everyone? So we will read once again. A module is a part of a program. Module is a part of the program. Programs are composed of one or more independently developed modules. Now we understood? A single module can contain one or several statements closely related to each other. Modules work perfectly on individual level and can be integrated with other modules. You can integrate with other modules. A software program can be divided into modules to ease the job of programming and debugging as well. Debugging means correcting the error. A program can be divided into a small functional modules that work together to get the output. Now you got an idea, right? A process of subdividing a computer program into a separate subprogram is called modular programming. The way you divide the task into small pieces and then integrate together is called modular programming. Modular programming enables programmers to divide up the work and debug piece of program independently. Just now I showed you, right? Independently, you can debug the program if any error occurs in that module alone, right? The example of modules are procedures, subroutines, and functions. All the things you have seen, right? Subroutines, functions, all are considered as modules. Is it clear? So next topic is characteristic of modules. The following are the desirable characteristic of a module. First one, modules contain instruction, processing, logic, and data. So in any module, data will be there. To process that data, instructions and logic will be given in the form of program. Understood? Is it clear? Right. The second one, modules can be separately compiled and stored in library. See, we can compile the module because it has data, instruction, and logic separately. So you can compile it like a small program and you can store it as a library. You can store it as a library. Third one, module can be included in a program. Module can be included in a program. That means module can be included in a program. Like you already learned about library functions, right? Same way, last year you learned library functions as well as header files, studio.h, iostream.h, all these things you learned last year, right? Same way, modules also can be included in a program. Even not only in the same program, if module can be included in different programs also if it is necessary, right? Third one, module segments can be used by invoking a name and some parameters. See, if you use module inside any other program, definitely if you want to invoke that module, definitely you need the name. If it needs a parameter, you can give the parameter also. Fifth one, module segment can be used by other modules. Just now I told you. Even we can use the module in another module if required. So these are the characteristic of modules, right? Next is benefit of using modular programming includes. What are the benefits we are going to see, right? First benefit is less code to be written. Yes, obviously, because we divide the program into small modules, so each module requires only less code. Understood? A single procedure can be developed for reuse, eliminating the need to retype the code many times. That means once we develop, we can reuse the program any number of times. Once you write a code, suppose if example I want to calculate total and average for the entire class, if I write the program to calculate the total and average as a separate modules, whenever I want, I can reuse it. No need to write the code again and again. Understood? Next one, programs can be designed more easily because a small team deals with only a small part of entire code. Obviously, as I told in IT field, every project will be divided into so many modules, and each modules will be given to separate programmers in the form of team, and they deal only with a small part of the code. Understood? Modular programming allows many programmers to collaborate on the same application. Just now I gave example, right? So each and every programmers will be given a particular task. Okay. Finally, what happened? All the programs or modules will be integrated together to form a software, to prepare in the form of software. The code is stored across multiple files. Because the project is divided into many modules, so the files will be stored in different files. See, if anything happens to a particular file, no problem. Okay, only that file will be retrieved. Is it clear? Code is short, simple, and easy to understand. Naturally, you're writing in the form of modules. So, as you see less code to be written, naturally, code is short. Code will be short. And definitely it will be simple and easy to understand. And because of this, code is short, errors can be identified easily as they are localized to the subroutine or function. Is it clear? Same way, the same code can be used in many applications if required. The scoping of variable can easily be controlled. Right? Here, what happened? Because the code is restricted, even the variables can be restricted easily using scoping. Already you have seen this, right? Next topic is access control. Access control is a security technique that regulates who or what can view or use resources in a computing environment. Okay, in network environment, a network administrator will give rights to each and every user. A particular user can view the file. A particular user can only edit the file. A particular user can only update the file. Like that, restriction will be given by system administrator, right? When you write a program, in the program itself, you can give access control, access specifiers using private, public, protected. Already you learned in C++, right? So It is a fundamental concept in security that minimizes risk to the object. Object is nothing but data, right? In other words, access control is a selective restriction of access to data. In object-oriented programming language, it is implemented through access modifiers. Classic object-oriented languages such as C++ and Java control the access to class members by public, private, and protected keywords. Already you learned last year in C++, right? Class program will have 3 access specifiers, right? In that, private members of the class are denied access from outside the class. You all know that, right? Private, when you declare any data as a private, that means only within the class you can access the data, not from outside. Okay, they can be accessed, they can be handled only from within the class. On the other hand, public members are accessible from outside the class. When you declare any function or a data as public, it can be accessed by anyone from outside. Outside means outside the class. The object of the same class is required to invoke the public method. This arrangement of private instance variables and public methods ensures the principle of data encapsulation. Do you remember last year you learned encapsulation? The mechanism by which both data and functions are bounded together within an object definition is called encapsulation. Both the data and functions are bounded together, right, in the form of class. Okay. Now, on the other hand, protected members of a class are accessible from within the class and are also available to its subclass. I think last year I explained base class and derived class, right? And from base class, if any data is protected using protected access specifiers, can be accessed by the derived class. Understood? No other process is permitted access to it. This enables specific resource of parent class to be inherited by the child class. Parent class is nothing but base class. Child class is nothing but derived class. Right? And this year you're going to learn Python. Python does not have any mechanism that effectively restricts access to any instance, variable, or method. That means in Python you don't have private, public, protected like access specifiers, which is there in Java and C++. Python prescribes a conversion of prefixing the name of the variable or method by single or double underscore to emulate the behavior of protected and private access specifiers. That means in Python, suppose if you want to protect a particular variable, just double underscore and A. Now this becomes private. Suppose if you give A, this is public. Understood? So you're prefixing with double underscore. All members in Python class are public by default. As I told, if you declare A like that, it is public by default. Whereas by default in C++ and Java, they are private. Any members can be accessed from outside the class environment in Python, which is not possible in C++ and Java. Right? If you want to protect any data in Java, you have to prefix the data with double underscore or single underscore. Is it clear, children? Understood access specifier now? So that completes chapter 3. And today I explained about module, characteristic of modules, the benefits of using modular programming, and access control. In that you learned about private, protected, and public, right? In previous session, you learned about different types of scope, that is LEGB. LEGB means local, enclosed, global, built-in scope. Then types of variable scopes with example, right? So chapter 3, scoping, completed. Go through the chapter again, and still if you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, children, see you. Take care. Bye.